Commander G1 stood at the observation deck of Research Station Prosperity 7, watching the stars through the thick glass. Her hands were steady on the rail, but her mind was racing. Today would change everything for humanity. Today, they would meet the Villani. The Villani were famous across the galaxy. Every species knew their story. For 10,000 years, they had never fought a single war. They solved problems by talking, by thinking together, by finding peace. Other species called them the galaxy's children of peace. Some called them weak. G1 was about to find out which one was true. "Commander, we have contact," said Dr. Sunho from his station. The young scientist looked nervous. His hands shook slightly as he adjusted his equipment. 3 ships approaching from the outer system. They're beautiful. J1 moved to the main viewing screen. What she saw took her breath away. The Villani ships looked like they were made of living crystal. They moved through space without any visible engines, gliding like fish through water. Soft light pulsed through their holes in slow, steady rhythms. It reminded G1 of a heartbeat. "No weapon signatures," reported Lieutenant Kyung from the tactical station. "No shields either. They're completely defenseless." G1 frowned. "Teen, this part of space, that's either very brave or very foolish." The outer rim was dangerous. Pirates attacked merchant ships here every week. The hegemony sent their war fleets through this area like wolves hunting sheep. Yet the Villani came here with no protection at all. "Incoming transmission," said Communications Officer Yuna. "They're requesting permission to dock." "Granted," G1 said, and prepared the main conference room. Full diplomatic protocol. 20 minutes later, G1 waited in the conference room with her small team. Dr. Sunho checked his translation device for the 5th time. The door opened with a soft hiss. Elder Moran entered first. G1 had studied pictures of the Villani, but seeing one in person was different. Moran was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. His eyes were large and silver, and when he looked at G1, she felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. "Commander J1 Moran," said in perfect English. His voice was gentle, like wind through leaves. "I am Elder Moran of the Villani Peaceful Assembly. We have traveled far to meet you." J1 stood and extended her hand. "Come to Prosperity 7. Elder Moran, we're honored by your visit." Moran looked at her hand for a moment, then slowly reached out and touched it. His skin was warm and smooth. "The honor is ours. Your species has interested us." They sat across from each other at the conference table. Dr. Sun activated his recording equipment while Lieutenant Kyung stood at attention near the door. "Elder Moran," G1 began, "humanity seeks membership in the Galactic Council. We believe we can contribute to galactic peace and prosperity." Moran's expression grew sad. "Peace? Yes, we have heard of your species' approach to peace. You achieve it through strength, through the threat of violence. Sometimes," G1 admitted. "But we also achieve it through diplomacy, through trade, through friendship." "We're not just warriors." "No," Moran agreed. "You are not. That is why we came." The elder leaned forward. His silver eyes seemed to look right through G1. "Commander, we need your help. The Villani face extinction, and we cannot save ourselves." Dr. Sunho nearly dropped his datapad. "Extinction? But you're one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Advanced in technology? Yes. Advanced in peace? Yes. But we have forgotten how to fight. We have chosen to forget." Moran's voice grew quieter. "The hegemony comes for us." Jiwan felt ice in her stomach. The hegemony was the galaxy's nightmare. They conquered peaceful worlds and enslaved entire species. They claimed to bring order, but they only brought suffering. When Jawan asked, "Soon, they have already taken the Cathara worlds. A gentle folk of Serenity Prime, the harmony builders of the third spiral, all gone, all slaves now. Moran's hands trembled slightly. We are next. Why don't you fight back? Lieutenant Kyung asked. You've had the technology. You have the numbers. Moran looked at him with infinite sadness. Young warrior, we cannot fight. It is not that we will not, cannot. Violence is poison to us. It destroys our souls. If we become warriors, we stop being Villani. But if you don't fight, you die, Jiwan said. Yes. The room fell silent. Jiwan looked around at her team. She saw the same thoughts in their faces that were racing through her mind. The Villani were going to let themselves be destroyed rather than fight back. There has to be another way, Dr. Sunho said. Hide. Run. Something. We have tried hiding. They find us. We have tried running. They follow us. We have tried talking. They do not listen. Moran stood up slowly. Give us one choice. Surrender or die. What about the Galactic Council? Juan asked. Surely they won't allow genocide. Moran's laugh was bitter. The Council talks and talks while worlds burn. They send strongly worded messages. They impose trade sanctions. The hegemony laughs at them. Juan stood as well. Elder Moran, why did you come here? Why tell us this? It's because, Moran said, we have heard stories about humans. Strange stories. Stories that say humans fight, not for conquest, but for others. Stories that say humans have died defending species they barely knew. Stories that say humans believe some things are worth fighting for. Those stories are true, Gaywan said, quietly. We hoped they were. Moran moved to the viewing port and looked out at the stars. We have something to offer you, Commander. Our technology, our knowledge, our friendship. The friendship of every peaceful species in the galaxy. In exchange for what? Moran turned back to her. Fight for us. Stand between us and the darkness. We cannot raise our hands in violence, but perhaps we can raise our voices for those who fight in our name. Quan felt the weight of the moment. This was bigger than just humanity joining the Galactic Council. This was about the future of peace itself. I'll need to contact Earth, she said. This decision is too big for me alone. Of course, Moran said. But Commander, please hurry. The hegemony fleet moves toward our home system. We have perhaps 2 months before they arrive. As Elder Moran prepared to leave, he stopped at the door. Commander, may I ask you something? Of course. Do you believe peace is worth fighting for? Juan looked into his silver eyes. Elder Moran, I believe peace is the only thing worth fighting for. Allah. For the first time since arriving, Elder. Moran smiled. Then perhaps there is hope after all. 3 weeks later, Commander Jawan stood on the bridge of the human ship Harmony's Edge as it approached the Villani homeworld. The planet hung before them like a blue jewel wrapped in silver clouds. Even from space, she could see the floating cities drifting above crystal seas like gentle dreams. I've never seen anything like it, whispered Dr. Sunho, staring at the view screen. The cities are actually floating. No supports, no engines, just floating. Engineer Deho checked his instruments. The energy readings are incredible. Using some kind of gravity manipulation technology, but it's so advanced, I can barely understand it. Jiwan nodded. Earth's response to Elder Moran's request had been swift and clear. Humanity would help the Villani, but they needed to understand what they were getting into. That meant visiting the Villani homeworld and meeting their leaders. Incoming transmission, reported Communications Officer Yuna. It's Elder Moran. Put him through. Moran's gentle face appeared on the screen. Commander Juan, welcome to Serenity Prime. Sage Hyman awaits you in the Grand Assembly. Please follow the guide chips to the landing platform. 2 small Villani vessels approached, their crystal hulls glowing softly. They moved like dancers, graceful and smooth. The human ship followed them down through the atmosphere toward one of the floating cities. As they descended, Ji-wan saw the true beauty of the Vellani world. The cities were works of art, with buildings that curved like waves and bridges that arced through the air like rainbows. Gardens grew on every surface, and waterfalls cascaded from platform to platform into the sea below. How did it keep the city stable? Daeho asked, fascination clear in his voice. Daeho, came a new voice. Elder Moran had beamed aboard their ship. The cities move with the winds, with the tides of the planet's energy. We live in harmony with these forces, rather than fighting them. The ship landed on a platform made of what looked like living coral. As they stepped outside, Ji-wan felt the platform gently sway beneath her feet. Air smelled of flowers and ocean spray. Sway, Moran said, leading them through gardens filled with plants that sang in the wind. Sage Hyman is very old, even by our standards. She has led our people for over 300 years. They walked through corridors that seemed to grow from the very walls. Everything was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges anywhere. The floors were soft under their feet, and the walls glowed with gentle light. The Grand Assembly was a vast, circular chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the sky above. Hundreds of Vellani sat in curved rows, their silver eyes focused on the center, where an ancient female Vellani waited. Her skin was almost white, and her eyes held the wisdom of centuries. Sage Hyman, Moran said, bowing deeply. I present Commander Ji-wan of the human species. Sage Hyman studied Ji-wan with those ancient eyes. When she spoke, her voice was like water flowing over stones. Commander Ji-wan, you come from a species that knows war. Why should we trust you? Ji-wan had prepared for this question. 'Cause, Sage Hyman, we also know peace. We know what it costs to build it and what it costs to keep it. We know that sometimes you must fight to protect what you love. But violence corrupts, said another Vellani from the assembly. It changes those who use it. How can we ask you to become monsters for our sake? Engineer Daeho stepped forward. May I speak, Sage Hyman? The ancient leader nodded. We've studied your technology on the journey here. You have defenses we've never dreamed of. Energy barriers that can stop any weapon. Sensors that can see across star systems. Gravity manipulation. That makes our best ships look like toys. Daeho paused. But you can't use them for war, Hyman said sadly. We cannot. They were built for protection, for harmony. To use them for violence would poison them, make them useless. What if you didn't have to use them for violence? Daeho asked. What if someone else fought for you while you used your technology to protect the innocent? Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some Vellani looked interested, others disturbed. Explain, Hyman said. Daeho looked at Ji-wan, who nodded. We propose a partnership. Humanity will provide the military force to defend Vellani space. In return, the Vellani provide defensive technology and coordination with other peaceful species. You keep your hands clean while we do what we're good at. And what are you good at? Asked a young Vellani from the crowd. War, Ji-wan said simply. We're very good at war. But we're also good at protecting people who can't protect themselves. Council Speaker Jin-woo, a middle-aged Vellani with kind eyes, stood up. This proposal has merit. We maintain our peaceful nature while gaining protection. Ha! The humans fight, but they fight for peace, not conquest. But we will be responsible for their actions, argued another council member. If humans kill in our name, are we not guilty of those deaths? Are you guilty if you do nothing and your people die? Jin-woo countered. Are you guilty if other peaceful species fall to the hegemony because we could have helped but chose not to? The debate continued for hours. Ji-wan and her team sat quietly, letting the Vellani work through their moral dilemma. She understood their struggle. They were being asked to compromise beliefs they had held for 10,000 years. Finally, Sage Hyman raised her hand for silence. Commander Jiwan, if we agree to this partnership, what guarantees do we have that humanity will not become the thing we seek to escape? None, Jiwan said honestly, except this. We're not asking you to change who you are. We're asking you to help us become better than we are. Your people can teach us restraint, wisdom, compassion. In return, we teach you that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to fight for it. You will listen to our guidance? Hyman asked, gladly. We have much to learn from a species that has known peace for 10,000 years. Hyman closed her eyes and sat in meditation for several minutes. The entire assembly waited in silence. Finally, she opened her eyes. We will vote, she said. But first, I want to know something, Commander. Why do you fight? What drives your species to war? Swan thought of Earth, of the children playing in parks, of the artists creating beauty, of the scientists reaching for the stars. We fight so that others don't have to. We fight so that species like yours can exist. We fight because someone has to, and we'd rather it be us than the innocent. And when the fighting is done, when peace is achieved, then we put down our weapons and help build something better. Hyman smiled, the first smile G1 had seen from her. The vote will be close, but I believe it will pass. The young ones understand what the old ones fear to admit. Peace without protection is just a beautiful dream waiting to become a nightmare. The assembly prepared to vote. Jin Wu approached Jawan. Commander, many of us have never seen violence. If this partnership goes forward, will you help us understand what we're asking you to do? Yes, Jiwan said. And you'll help us understand what we're fighting to preserve. A fair trade, Jinwoo said. Let us hope it saves us all. The vote had passed by 3 voices. 3 voices that would change the galaxy forever. Captain Yoonji floated in the zero gravity of Harmony Station, watching human and Volani engineers work together for the first time. The small moon base had been chosen as neutral ground, hidden in an asteroid field where no one would think to look. Here, the most unlikely alliance in galactic history was being born. The shield generators are incredible, said Chief Engineer Hansel, his voice full of wonder. They don't just stop energy weapons, okay? They absorb the energy and redirect it. We could power a whole city with what one shot from a hegemony cruiser produces. Keeper Taeyeon, the Volani defensive coordinator, moved gracefully through the zero gravity like he was swimming through water. Your species adapts quickly. We expected it would take months to understand our technology. We're good at learning new ways to not die, Yanji replied with a grin. It's a survival skill. The past month had been a whirlwind of activity. Human ships arrived daily, bringing engineers, scientists, and military personnel. The Volani came with their defensive technology, their sensor networks, and something even more valuable, their connections to other peaceful species across the galaxy. Captain, called Lieutenant Minsu from the communications station. Ambassador Nari is requesting your presence in conference room 7. She says it's important. Yonji pushed off from the observation deck and glided down the corridor. The station was a maze of human metal and Volani crystal. 2 different approaches to building fused together. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did. Conference room 7 was bustling with activity. Ambassador Nari stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays showing star maps and fleet positions. Her usually calm expression was tense. Captain, we have a problem, Nari said without preamble. The hegemony has accelerated their timeline. They're moving against 3 peaceful worlds simultaneously. Yunji studied the displays. The Chikathara system. Yes, intelligence reports suggest they're planning a coordinated strike in 2 weeks. If they succeed, they'll control the entire outer spiral. Elder Moran materialized beside them, his image flickering slightly through the long-range communication system. The gentlefolk have sent a plea for help. The Harmony Builders are preparing to evacuate their children. The Peacekeepers are meditating for guidance. Meditating won't stop plasma cannons, Yunji said grimly. No, Moran agreed. Bet. Might show us a path we haven't considered. Ambassador Nari activated another display. We have 12 human ships ready for combat. The Vellani have provided us with their new shield technology and early warning sensors. But is it enough? Numbers. Don't tell the whole story, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Sage Hyman entering the room. The ancient Vellani leader moved slowly, but with purpose. Sage Hyman, Nari said, bowing respectfully. We didn't expect you to come personally. These are not times for sitting safely at home, Hyman replied. I bring news from the peaceful worlds. Word of our alliance has spread. She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show communication logs from across the galaxy. The gentlefolk offered their industrial capacity. The Harmony Builders provide their construction expertise. The Peacekeepers shared their meditation techniques for combat stress. Even the Silent Ones have broken their 1,000-year silence to offer support. Yanji stared at the display in amazement. They're all willing to help. They're all willing to contribute to peace, Hyman corrected. Each species offers what they can while maintaining their nature. The gentlefolk will build medical supplies, not weapons. The Harmony Builders will create shelters, not bunkers. The Peacekeepers will heal minds, not break them. In the Silent Ones, Nari asked, they will watch, they will remember. They will ensure that what we do here is recorded for all time. Captain Yunji felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. This wasn't just about saving a few worlds. This was about proving that different species could work together, that peace and war could coexist when they served the same purpose. We need to test this alliance, she said. We need to see if it actually works under pressure. The Kithara system will be our test, Keeper Taeyon said. My people have installed our sensor network throughout the region. We'll know when the hegemony fleet arrives before they know we're watching. Over the next few days, the station became a center of frantic activity. Human ships received Vellani shield generators and sensor arrays. Vellani coordinators learned to work with human tactical systems. Engineers from both species worked together to solve problems neither could handle alone. It's remarkable, Dr. Sunho said, watching a human technician and a Vellani engineer collaborate on a shield modification. They're not just sharing technology, they're sharing ways of thinking. UNG nodded. The Vellani see patterns we miss. They think in terms of harmony and balance. Our engineers think in terms of efficiency and power. Together, they're creating something new, something better than either could make alone. Sunho agreed. The integration wasn't without problems. Human soldiers had to learn Vellani meditation techniques to operate the advanced sensor systems. The technology required a calm, focused mind that most humans didn't naturally possess. Meanwhile, Vellani coordinators had to adapt to human urgency and directness. Your species moves so fast, Taeyon complained to Yunji after a particularly frustrating planning session. You make decisions in minutes that we would consider for days. Your species thinks so deep, Yunji replied. You see consequences we haven't even imagined yet. Perhaps that's why we need each other, Taeyon said thoughtfully. The breakthrough came when young Vellani engineer Borum had an idea. What if we combine human speed with Vellani foresight? What if we create battle meditation? Battle meditation, Yunji asked. Your soldiers meditate before combat, but they use our techniques to see possible futures. Not to predict exactly what will happen, but to prepare for what might happen. The concept was revolutionary. Human crews began training in Vellani meditation methods, learning to quiet their minds and extend their awareness. The Vellani, in turn, began sharing their defensive strategies and evacuation protocols. This could work, Yunji said, after watching a test run. Our reaction times are improving. The crews are calmer, more focused, and our people are learning that preparation for conflict is not the same as embracing violence, Taeyan added. As the deadline for the Kithara operation approached, Ambassador Neri called a final meeting. Representatives from 6 peaceful species attended virtually, their images filling the conference room. The hegemony expects to find defenseless worlds, Nari said. Instead, they'll find something they've never encountered before. Unity. Unity without uniformity, Sage Hyman added. Each species contributing according to their nature, all working toward the same goal. What if we fail? Asked a representative from the gentlefolk. What if the hegemony is too strong? Then we'll have failed together, Yunji said. And that's better than succeeding alone. Elder Moran smiled. The galaxy is about to learn something new. It's about to learn that peace has guardians, and those guardians come in many forms. As the meeting ended and the species returned to their preparations, Yunji looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the hegemony fleet was moving toward Kithara. Soon, the galaxy would see if peace and war could truly work as partners. Ready? Taeyan asked, joining her at the observation deck. Ready? Yunji replied. Let's show them what unity looks like. The Vellani sensor network detected them first. 67 hegemony ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kithara system. Their dark holes bristling with weapons. General Minho watched the tactical display from the bridge of the human battleship Defender, his jaw tight with concentration. They're not wasting time, Admiral Soyan reported from her position on the carrier Resilience. Full attack formation. Okay, they're heading straight for the inhabited world. Keeper Taeyan, what's the evacuation status? Minho asked. The Vellani coordinator's calm voice came through the comm system. Evacuation ships are launching from all 3 worlds. The gentlefolk are helping with the children. The harmony builders are dismantling their most precious cultural sites. The peacekeepers are ... Singing, Minho asked. They sing to calm the evacuees. It helps prevent panic. On the tactical display, thousands of small ships lifted off from the 3 worlds of the Kitharat system. Unlike military vessels, these were civilian transports, cargo haulers, and personal craft. They moved slowly, carrying entire populations. To safety, Hegemony Fleet is accelerating, reported Lieutenant Yemen from the sensor station. They'll reach the first world in 2 hours, and we'll be there in 1, Minho said. All ships, final weapons, check. Remember, we're not just fighting for victory. We're fighting to protect those evacuation ships. The human fleet was smaller than the hegemony force, but they had advantages the enemy didn't expect. Vellani shields covered their ships like second skins, and Vellani sensors showed them everything happening in the system. Most importantly, they had something the hegemony lacked: purpose beyond conquest. General, came Elder Yuna's voice over the comm. May I join you on the bridge? Minho nodded to his communications officer. Of course, Elder. We welcome your guidance. Elder Yuna materialized as a hologram beside the command chair. She was younger than most Vellani leaders, but her silver eyes held deep wisdom. The evacuation is proceeding well, but we have a problem. There are hegemony soldiers on the surface of Kithara Prime. They were left behind from an earlier raid. Prisoners? Admiral Soyen asked. Some, but also soldiers who were trapped. Their ship was destroyed in a previous battle. They've been surviving on the surface for weeks. General Minho frowned. How many? Perhaps 200. Ain't they hungry, scared, and far from home? Sir, Lieutenant Yemen said, we have incoming from the hegemony fleet. Ata, demanding surrender. Put them through, Minho ordered. The main screen flickered to life. showing the scarred face of a hegemony commander. His eyes were cold and cruel. "I am war leader Thrax. You will surrender immediately or watch these worlds burn. I am General Minho of the Human Defense Force. We are here to protect the innocent. Leave now, and no one needs to die." Thrax laughed, a harsh sound. "Humans, we've heard of you. You fight for weaklings and call it honor. Tay, you learned the price of such foolishness." The transmission cut off. Min turned to his crew. "Battle stations. All ships, prepare for combat." The two fleets met in the space between Kithara Prime and its largest moon. The hegemony ships opened fire first, their weapons lighting up the darkness with deadly energy. But the human ships didn't respond as expected. "Valani shields, holding," reported the defense coordinator. "Energy absorption at 30% and climbing." "Perfect," Minho said. "Admiral Soyan, execute pattern Alpha." The human fleet scattered like leaves in the wind, each ship moving in seemingly random directions. The hegemony commanders, expecting traditional battle lines, found themselves confused as their enemies danced between their shots. "Cool. They are using our meditation techniques," Taeyeon observed with satisfaction. "Your crews are thinking like water, flowing around obstacles instead of smashing through them." Meanwhile, the evacuation continued. Gentlefolk transport ships carried children to safety, while Harmony builder vessels loaded precious artwork and cultural treasures. The peacekeepers' hospital ships followed, ready to treat the wounded from both sides. "Sir," Lieutenant Yemin called out, "we're getting a signal from the surface. It's the stranded hegemony soldiers." "What do they want?" Minho asked. "They're asking for evacuation." Elder Yuna stepped forward. "General, this is our chance. If we save their soldiers, we show them that we're not their enemy. We're the enemy of war itself. They'll think it's a trap," Admiral Soyan warned. "Then we prove it's not," Minho decided. "Lieutenant, signaled the peacekeeper vessels. Tell them to send a rescue ship to the surface." "Sir, that's crazy. Those soldiers could be lying." "They could capture the rescue ship. Then we'll rescue them, too," Minho said simply. The battle raged around them as the peacekeeper ship descended toward Kithara Prime. The human fleet continued its dance with the hegemony forces, absorbing their energy and redirecting it back at them. But something strange was happening. General Admiral Soyan reported, "Some of the hegemony ships are pulling back. They're not retreating, but they're not advancing either." "What's their status?" Minho asked. "Unknown. They're just ... waiting." On the surface, the peacekeeper ship found the stranded hegemony soldiers. They were indeed hungry and scared, huddled in the ruins of their crashed vessel. When the Valani medics arrived, the soldiers expected death or capture. Instead, they found healing. "Your people are treating our wounded elder," Yuno reported. "The soldiers don't understand. They keep asking why we're helping them." "What do you tell them?" Minho asked. "The truth, that suffering is suffering, regardless of who suffers." The rescue ship lifted off with all 200 soldiers aboard. As it climbed toward orbit, something unexpected happened. The hegemony fleet began to change formation. "Sir," Lieutenant Yemen said, his voice confused, "the hegemony ships they're standing down. Several vessels are requesting permission to dock with the rescue ship." War leader Thrax's face appeared on the screen again, but this time, he looked different, less certain. "Human General, what game are you playing?" "No game, War leader. We're protecting the innocent. That includes your soldiers. You saved them to use as hostages." "No, we saved them because they needed saving. They're free to return to your fleet." Thrax stared at him for a long moment. "You're lying. No one fights like this. No one rescues their enemies." "We do," Minho said. "It's who we are." The rescue ship docked with one of the hegemony vessels. The saved soldiers began transferring back to their fleet. But instead of the grateful reunion expected, something else happened. The soldiers began talking to their comrades, telling them about the Vellani medics who had healed them without questions, about the human ships that had risked themselves for a rescue mission. War leader, one of the human ship captains, reported, "We're detecting internal communications in the hegemony fleet. Sounds like ... Arguing. Elder Yuna smiled. Sometimes the greatest weapon against war is kindness. If your soldiers are learning that their enemies are not monsters." Hours passed. Evacuation continued, now with some hegemony ships actually helping to escort civilian transports to safety. Not all of them, but enough to matter. General Admiral Soyan reported, "War. Leader Thrax is requesting a private communication." Put him through. This time, Thrax looked tired rather than angry. "General Minho, you have cost me today." "How so?" "Half my fleet refuses to attack civilians. They say, if you can save our soldiers, perhaps you can be trusted with theirs." "Have a mutiny on my hands." Minho leaned forward. "War leader, it doesn't have to be a mutiny. It can be a choice. You can choose to stop fighting for conquest and start fighting for something better. And what would that be? Peace. Real peace. Not the silence of the conquered, but the harmony of the willing." Thrax closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed. "General, I will withdraw my fleet from this system, but this is not over. The hegemony will not forget this day." "Neither will we," Minho replied. "The question is, will you remember it as the day you chose war, or the day you chose something better?" The hegemony fleet began withdrawing, but not all of them. 12 ships remained, their commanders requesting asylum. They wanted to join the alliance, to fight for protection rather than conquest. "Well," Elder Yuna said, as the last evacuation ship cleared the system, "that was unexpected, but not unwelcome," Minho replied. "Today we learned something important." "What's that?" "That the enemy of peace isn't always the enemy of justice. Sometimes they just need to be shown theirs another way." As the Allied fleet prepared to return to Harmony Station, news of the Cathara victory spread across the galaxy. The impossible had happened. A peaceful species and a warrior species had worked together to protect the innocent, and in doing so, they had turned enemies into allies. The galaxy was beginning to listen. The Galactic Council chambers had never seen anything like it. For the first time in its 1,000-year history, every single seat was filled. Representatives from 300 species crowded the great circular hall, their attention focused. On the center stage where 2 very different figures stood side by side. Elder Moran adjusted his flowing robes and looked out at the assembled delegates with calm, silver eyes. Beside him, Commander Jiwan stood straight in her crisp military uniform, her hand resting on the ceremonial sword that marked her as humanity's chief representative. The chair recognizes Elder Moran of the Vellani Peaceful Assembly and Commander Jiwan of the Human Defense Force, announced Chancellor Sungmin, his ancient voice carrying across the vast chamber. Elder Moran stepped forward first. "Honored delegates, we come before you today not as separate species, but as partners in a new vision for galactic peace." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Cathara victory had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News of hegemony ships defecting, of enemies treated as friends, of war turned into mercy had spread faster than hyperspace could carry it. "The Vellani have maintained peace for 10,000 years, Moran continued. "But we learned something important at Cathara. Peace without protection is just a beautiful dream waiting to become a nightmare." Commander Jiwan stepped forward. "Humanity has fought wars for most of our history, but we learned something important too. Victory without compassion is just conquest." Wearing a different mask. From the delegates section, the hegemony representative stood up. It was war leader Thrax, but he looked different now. Gone was the cruel confidence. In its place was something resembling humility. "May I speak?" Thrax asked. Chancellor Sungmin nodded. "The chair recognizes war leader, Thrax." "I commanded the fleet at Cathara," Thrax said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "I went there to conquer 3 worlds and enslave their populations. Instead, I watched my enemies save my soldiers. I watched them treat our wounded. I watched them show mercy when they could have shown strength." He paused, and the entire chamber held its breath. 12 of my ships have joined their alliance, not because they were defeated, but because they were inspired. These humans and Vellani have shown us something we thought impossible. They have shown us that there is another way. Excited chatter erupted throughout the chamber. Chancellor Sung Min called for order. "What exactly are you proposing?" asked a representative from the core worlds, her voice skeptical. "That we all hold hands and sing peaceful songs while the galaxy burns around us." Elder smiled gently. "No, honored delegate, we propose something much more practical. We propose that each species contribute what they do best to a common cause. The Vellani provide defensive technology and coordination. Humanity provides military protection. Other species provide what they can. The gentlefolk offer medical aid," called out their representative. "The Harmony Builders offer construction expertise. The Peacekeepers offer healing for both body and mind. Even we silent ones offer our archives," spoke the representative who had not uttered a word in council for 3 centuries. "We will record this new chapter in galactic history." Commander Jiwan activated a holographic display showing star maps and fleet positions. "The hegemony is not our only threat. Pirates raid the outer systems daily. Slavers steal entire populations. Criminal syndicates control whole sectors. Traditional approaches have failed to stop them." "Okay, and you think your approach will succeed where others have failed?" asked the Crystalline Collective representative, their voice ringing like wind chimes. "We don't think it will succeed," Jiwan replied. "We know it will, because it already has." The display changed to show recent reports from across the galaxy. Pirate fleets surrendering after being offered amnesty, slaver operations shut down by combined military and peaceful pressure, criminal organizations collapsing as their members defected to legitimate work programs. Word of Cathara spread quickly, Elder Moran explained. Other species began copying our methods. The results speak for themselves. Chancellor Sung Min leaned forward in his chair. "What you're describing is a fundamental change in how the galaxy operates. You're asking us to abandon thousands of years of tradition. We're asking you to abandon thousands of years of failure," Jawan said bluntly. "The old ways haven't worked. The strong prey on the weak suffer in silence, and nothing ever really changes. But this changes everything," Moran added. "When the peaceful and the powerful work together, both become stronger." Delegate after delegate stood to speak. Some expressed support, others voiced concerns. The debate continued for hours as species after species wrestled with the implications of what was being proposed. "You ask us to trust each other," said the hive mind representative, "but trust must be earned. How do we know this alliance will not become the very thing it seeks to replace?" "You don't," Jiwan admitted, "but you can watch us accountable. You can join us and help guide us. The difference between us and the hegemony is that we want partners, not subjects. We want equals, not servants," Moran agreed. "We want a galaxy where every species can thrive according to their nature." The representative from the Machine Collective, a species of artificial intelligences, spoke with electronic precision. "Our calculations show a 73% probability of success if all species participate. This rises to 94% if the Alliance maintains its current moral standards, and if we refuse." asked the Crystalline Collective. Then you continue as you are, Juan said. Fighting your own battles, protecting your own interests, hoping someone else will solve the big problems. But hoping is not a strategy, Moran said gently, and waiting for someone else to act is not leadership. Chancellor Sungman called for a recess. For 6 hours, delegates huddled in small groups, debating, arguing, calculating. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. When the session resumed, something had changed. Delegate after delegate stood to announce their species decision. The gentlefolk joined the alliance. The Harmony Builders offered their support. The Machine Collective calculates cooperation as optimal. The Crystalline Collective resonates with this proposal. One by one, 300 species declared their intention to join the new Galactic Alliance. Not all of them, but enough, more than enough. War leader Thrax stood last. The hegemony splits today. Those who choose conquest over justice will leave. Those who choose protection over domination will stay. I choose to stay. Elder Moran and Commander G1 looked out at the transformed chamber. What had begun as a desperate plea for help had become a revolution. The alliance is not perfect, Moran said. We will make mistakes. We will face challenges we cannot imagine, but we will face them together. Each species keeping their identity while working toward common goals. G1 added, each contributing their strengths while covering for others' weaknesses. Chancellor Sungman stood slowly. The Galactic Council recognizes the formation of the Peaceful Defense Alliance. May it bring the galaxy closer to the peace we all seek. As the delegates filed out, many stopped to speak with Moran and Juan. Plans were made, resources pledged, hope kindled. Do you think it will really work? Kiwan asked Moran as they watched the chamber empty. I think it has to work, Moran replied, because the alternative is too terrible to consider. The galaxy chose hope over fear today, G1 said. Yes, Moran agreed, and now we must prove that hope was not misplaced. Outside the council chambers, the news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. The most peaceful species and the most warlike species had created something new together. They had created a future where strength and compassion worked as one in the years that followed. Children would learn about the day the galaxy chose unity over division, protection over conquest, hope over fear. They will learn that peace was not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. They will learn that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships create the most beautiful results, and they will learn that when good people stand together, nothing in the universe can stand against them. The galaxy had made its choice. Now it was time to build the future they had chosen.